Hello, hello, hello. You're with Mark Adams at Next Level Business Associates, Advisors. I don't even know who I am, but I know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Dr. Sonny Spera. He is a practice owner at Progressive Dental in Binghamton, New York. Do I have it right, Doc?
Got it. Got it.
All
You know how many
right.
people mispronounce Binghamton?
Really, really.
Yeah, everybody thinks Southampton, like Binghamton or Binghamton,
Ah,
It's just Binghamton. It's one word.
funny. You know what? I grew up in the city. And
Okay.
for years, there was a boat right outside
Yeah.
of Fort Lee. It was the Binghamton.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's right in it's right on it's in Englewood. I know
yeah,
exactly where it is. Yeah,
exactly.
it
And so,
got hit with the flood. That was where the train was the connection from there to Binghamton.
oh,
And
okay. Ah, see. And so it
my
was a
wife
big
had
deal for us to
my
get to
wife's from
Binghamton.
Jersey and her high school reunion was on that boat. And I was like, this is the Binghamton boat.
Get
And I
out of
got
here.
I
See,
swear to God, small world.
that's why I got it, because of that Binghamton boat. I tell you, it was a big deal to get on the Binghamton. We were big time when we got there. So
That's
awesome.
right.
It's the connections are always amazing when you talk to people.
Hmm.
So we're glad to have you with us. We always start by doing a little bit of introductions. I talk too much to begin with, so I'm going to let you talk. Tell us who you are, a little bit about your business, and the role that you play.
Okay, well, as you sense it, Dr. Sonny Spera. I'm a practicing dentist since 1989. I'm a graduate of Union Endicott High School, Syracuse University. I played basketball at Syracuse, and then I coached when I was in dental school at the University of Buffalo. So I stayed in upstate New York. I went from Binghamton up 81 to Syracuse and then across Route 90 to Buffalo. So I've stayed in the general area, and then when I finished dental school, I went right into practice for two young guys in 1989, and I was an associate for almost 2 full years. And then in October 1991, I bought my first practice in Conklin, New York, a little small town outside of Binghamton, right above the PA border, and very small, very rural. I don't think the town had a traffic light, and that's where we got it started and going, and we kind of grew that practice. And I had always thought, yeah, I'd kind of like to have a practice closer to where I grew up, which was literally on the other side of Binghamton. And then a practice came available, and we bought that. And then at that point, we had two locations, and we built two brand new buildings. And we kept ourselves busy. And then over time, we've acquired a couple of other business dental offices where literally friends of mine wanted to retire. They called me up and said, hey, I want you to buy my practice. And I was like, hey, I'm not interested.
Okay.
And then I said, of course, I sat down with them, but initially we had no intention or no plans to expand. And it really was just a human connection, personal connection. The first dentist, I tried to help him sell his practice for him. I gave him advice, tips, who the broker was that represented the seller when we bought it. I thought that's what he wanted, and because he had an injury and he was getting better, he wasn't sure. And then 2 years, well, everything was great. And then he called me up and said, listen, I got to get out. I want you guys to buy the practice. And I was like, God, it's an hour away. And it's a completely different community. It's a whole different setting. And
Right.
talked to my partner, and he was like, oh, we got to do this. So I was like, okay, we got to do this.
Oh, okay. He was
And we
gun
did
ho, huh?
that.
He was ready.
Yeah, he was gung ho. He was fired up, and so I was like, "Yeah, I kind of hey, great big lift." And so I was like, "All right, let's do this." So we bought that practice, and then we knew we had to move it out of the building it was in. It was kind of outdated and older, so we built another brand new building, and we moved that practice. So that's almost 15 years now. We've been there.
Wow. Wow.
Um, and
So,
then in Pennsylvania, another friend of mine called me, kind of the same scenario, except wasn't in dire situation. He just said, "I really want to get out. I think this would be good for you guys." And it was the same scenario. I was kind of like, I think we're good. Let me help you. And then my partner was like, no, we got to do it. And I was like, okay, here we go. And it's
your partner
Pennsylvania.
is hungry.
My partner was pumping me. Yeah. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So when we jumped in, we would jump in. My term is we jump in with both lungs, like, the old, ham and egg story, right? So in ham and eggs, right? When you eat ham and eggs, the chicken is involved, but the pig is committed, right? So,
Okay.
so if we're gonna do something, we're gonna be committed. So we're gonna
Okay.
do like both lungs. Expression my dad would talk about. So we dove in and full. And then just now with this whole COVID, we bought the building 6 months ago, and we completely renovated it. Just
Wow.
finished it about 3 weeks ago. In fact, today they're ripping up a water pipe outside the door right now.
So if we see water
that
coming in
was-
your window,
Yeah, if we see water coming in,
we know what's going
call
on.
911. I'll give you the address.
Okay.
If I can't doggy paddle, we're in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be a real problem. So that was, our fourth practice, and then our fifth practice was another situation where a friend of mine had an injury, a neck injury, and it was like a mini stroke, and he had to get out, and so we said okay. And with each of these, I spoke to my partners and actually made them partners. So okay, this one, and so partnered up with one doc because there's 6 of us in total. My son joined the practice about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So most of the time there's been 5 of us. And so each of the additional practices, we have different ownership structure.
Oh, okay.
So
Very
I have
interesting.
1 partner, then I have 2 partners, and then I have 3 partners in the other one.
Wow. Okay. So you get
So
a whole lot of K1s.
It's a little complicated, but we have good advisors, good people helping us out.
Nice.
We've got a phenomenal CPA that works for us. He's I would call him our CFO, our Chief Financial Officer.
Right.
He keeps us on the straight and narrow.
Nice.
And we keep him crazy busy because we're doing these
That
crazy
many
things.
practices, absolutely. So that's interesting. So you've got 5 different practices you're a part of. Is that right? Did I
Yes.
get it right? Okay. Now,
100%.
are all of them named the same? Are they all Progressive Dentals? Or are they different ones?
Yes and no. The first 2 practices are just Progressive Dental PLLC. Each practice that we bought, like the one in Norwich, is Progressive Dental of Norwich, PLLC.
Nice.
Progressive Dental of Montrose, and the Pennsylvania office, I think, is only LLC. Then in Binghamton, it's Progressive Dental of Binghamton, PLLC.
So you got a brand going on. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, we're working on it.
That's pretty nice.
We run it like it's one entity. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Even though I have different partners and management, I've always been a fan of team. I'm a basketball player. I'm a basketball coach. I don't think you can do anything outside of a team. So it's always been, okay, how can we do this? And here's the impact if we do this. And here's the impact to you. And here's the impact to you. Like, okay, we're going to do retirement this year. How does 3 or 4% sound? Are you okay with that?
Right. Everybody has a say.
Everybody has a say, yeah. So
Nice.
even though it wasn't, on the books as everybody, but it was run that way. So everybody has a say in it. Everybody has skin in it, So
Right.
It's worked out well for us. It's
Nice.
been a lot more work, but it's also more gratifying when everybody has, okay, I put this in, I get this out. Okay,
Right.
great.
Everybody feels part of it. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned it twice, and now I'm getting a little excited because this is about business. But you said that you played ball at Syracuse.
Yeah.
That's Division One, right? That's
Division One.
okay. If I look in the record books, am I going to find you?
You gotta look hard. But yeah.
Okay. What position did you play?
I was a point guard.
Wow.
I played from 81 to 85. And I played a fair amount from 81 to 83, and then this kid by the name of Pearl Washington came to Syracuse. And
Get out.
kind of like, okay, Sonny, you're not going to play a whole lot more.
Okay.
So my playing time went way down, but
Okay. Well,
it was
hey,
still a great experience. So
that is amazing. So I have a business owner and a celebrity as far as I'm concerned. So I'm concerned, Doc, I might not even look at you as a doctor anymore. You're the point guard for the Syracuse. No, that's really cool though.
you might have to raise that bar on what a celebrity is. 'Cause I'm not going to say celebrity. I know celebrities, but I ain't one of them.
All right, cool. So I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We always do this. We're always honored to have professionals and business owners join us. So we want people to be able to find you. Now you're in 5 locations. So if someone wanted to find Progressive Dental, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, probably the easiest thing, right, is if you Google Progressive Dental and put anything in our area, you should find us. But our website is progressivedentalny.com. So Progressive Dental NY, that represents all of our practices. You can email me. I have an email address underneath Progressive Dental. It's drspera@progressivedentalny.com. Or if you're simple like me, sonnyspera@gmail.com.
Ah, very nice, very nice. I think we got that. It would be nice one day when I'm in your area, when I'm in Binghamton looking for a boat, that I come by and catch up to you.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Awesome. So now you've been in business, you said, starting in 1991?
1991 on my own. I've been
On
in
your own.
practice since '89. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And what made you take the leap to becoming a business owner on your own? We were just talking earlier and you said,
Yeah,
this is not for everyone. So what made you say, I'm going to do it on my own?
that's a good question. For me, I was in practice with two young dentists, two very good, very successful, very good dentists as well, and pretty good business people. And I was in practice with them. And when this kind of came about, this practice came up, I said, hey, let's buy this together, and then we'll be the three of us and have a partnership. They had no interest in going out there to that location. So I was like, you know what? I think I want to steer my own ship, So I was, even though it was hard to put those words out at the time, I think deep down, I'm not, I'm a little better chief than I am Indian.
I understand.
I don't want to, I don't want to insult anybody, but that's just an old-fashioned expression for us. Was, I would rather be, leading the dog sled than sitting in the back watching the dog sled. So I've never had problems with leadership and being a captain or being a representative or leader in this capacity. So to me, it was kind of a natural extension of my personality.
Right.
And then with that came, now you are going to get your business degree. You're going to learn by fire. Your feet are going to be, and you did. I did everything at the time. So I was working probably 40 to 50 hours chairside in my office, another 10 to 15 in two nursing homes. So I was working about 60, 65 hours dentistry. And then I was doing probably another 30 to 40 hours or so on books, paying the bills, checking the things, making sure that this was done, that done, and setting up some systems, right? So that hopefully, okay, now I understand it. Now I can give you the tasks. So one of the great books that I read was the E-Myth, and they talk about this. Sometimes you grow.
I love that book.
Right? You grow, but you don't, and you just hire somebody, say, here, do this, rather than say, here, this is how we do this. You do this, I'll check this. So I had a better grasp on, your payroll, your accounts receivable, your accounts payable, your payroll, how are you paying the bills? And quite honestly, for the first 3 months, I was literally like, is there anything left in the bank? Have we paid everybody?
Oh, yes.
Okay, geez, we got payroll coming up. Because I was still collecting on the dentist prior to me.
Okay.
His past receivables. And our arrangement was for like 90 days. I think it was first in, first out, or last in, first out. I can't remember exactly. LIFO or FIFO. So we were collecting. So if I did some work today and they had a balance, that money went to the old balance. And
okay.
I've made arrangements a little better in the future, but
okay,
that's what it was. So literally, I was literally like, okay, here you go, and then there you go. So I wasn't. There was nothing that was staying here. It was kind of, I was the flow through.
Yeah.
In my right pocket, out my left pocket, and literally I was like, okay, do we have enough for this? And then now you got quarterly taxes, so I'm meeting with my accountant. So there was just a tremendous, and I had two young kids. Let's see, 1991, my second child was born in May. My first child was 2 years old. He's the dentist that's in with me. So, it was a crazy time, but hey, you want something done, give it to a busy person. So that's what we did.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's interesting. We were just talking earlier, right? And we said that business ownership is not for everyone, especially when you start out. We all, in the E-Myth talks about that, right? We all start out with, I'm a dentist. I know how to do this. I'm going to open my practice. Or I know how to do taxes. I'm going to open up my own practice. And then the real world, HR, all these other things, customer acquisition, sales. Oh, I hate sales. But you realize if you don't sell, you don't eat. So it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. But you managed to open up your first, and then you just went all in. You went in, what was that? Both lungs.
Both lungs, baby. Both lungs.
So let me ask you this. Do you consider, well, before I ask you that, because I think I'm going to know the answer, but you might surprise me. How do you define success?
I saw that question, because you had kind of given me a little heads up. And so I looked at it and I thought, there's so many different, and there's so many different versions of success. Like Absolutely. My success may not be your success. And and everything. I think there has to be a business component. You have to, in the end of the day, you have to make some money. If you don't, you're not going to be in business for very long.
True.
So you have that has to be a component of it. I'm not saying you have to go hog wild, but you have to have enough to um, make it worth your while, or make it at least sustainable for the future. Okay. So to me, my success is happiness, meaning personal, professional, and my patients and my team.
Okay.
So everybody I work with and everybody I work for, and I have a whole lot of bosses, right? Every patient I see, they're my boss, and mostly every staff person, every team member is my boss too. So I work for them. And if I'm doing well, if I'm succeeding, right, I'm meeting their expectations. I'm helping them get healthier and better. So I'm providing people to get hopefully a healthier lifestyle and their own oral health, their own mouth, et cetera, in better condition or better health. And then the things that go with it, right? Sometimes it's not very fruitful, the compliments, or, oh, you did that filling. Well, it didn't hurt. Geez, I'd rather be having a baby than be here right now. The environment and the expectations versus, a person's got a cracked tooth here and you fix it. Like, oh my God, Doc, great job. They see that, but then you go work on back here. It's like, okay, it doesn't hurt. Good. No concept of, are their contours right? Is this right? Is that right? So there's a certain amount of personal satisfaction you have to receive yourself from what you've done, knowing it's at the best you can do. So to me, we've got to provide and we've got to deliver at A. We got to be at A game every day. And then we sleep well at night. And even sometimes that A game, something fails. Something goes bad. Something breaks. Or we have what do they call this? What's the cute word? An unfavorable outcome, where something just thing that a denture they're still not happy with, they're not wearing it, and you made it, all these specifications are great, but you didn't meet their expectations. Those are frustrating because you've done all you can, and sometimes it's like I have nothing else I can do. But most of the time we've done it 5 or 6 times if we have to. We'll bend over backwards. So it's not, in the end, it's no longer is it ever about the money. It's really about taking it to whatever level you can to just meet expectations or deliver, under promise, over deliver. So
I like it.
Those are some of the things. So to me, success means you're hitting on all cylinders.
Okay.
And the other component of success, I think you have to have a successful personal life. I've seen so many people that do well professionally and their personal life's a shambles. It's so much stress, and it's so difficult. The things that we do in dealing with public, any person that deals with the public, there's going to be stressors or people that, you could have a person that could come in, they can have their eyeball hanging out, and you could have one person go, yeah, it's a little scratch here. Another person come in, oh my God, so there's
my eyeball.
Right? Just huge variations on what is the problem. Or, yeah, this thing was bothering me for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, the person, it's bothering me for 3 minutes, So and you have to be able to, to adapt and pivot a little bit. But that's, to me, I think, so if you will go home and you don't have some peace and happiness at home, or in my case, support. My wife is the best. I've got 3 great kids. They're all doing their own thing, but I've been very, very fortunate because 1 and 1 equals 3, so the 2 of us combined are far greater than I could ever be by myself. And
that's lovely.
So it's a good situation. And I find the same thing with my partners, that their personal lives are really great, and it helps. It helps when you don't have to come in with, all that stuff hanging up, because you're gonna have to come in when your child's sick, or something happened, they got in an accident, and there's some type of crisis mode, and if you have your support system in place, you're gonna handle it. So we try to provide that support system at our office.
Very nice.
With each other. So like one of our core values is we treat everyone like their family.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
It just makes it simple.
Right. So now you've opened up multiple practices over multiple years.
Yeah.
Let's say we want to look back at your history. What is one big mistake that you made in your business journey?
Big mistake. That's a good question because I know I made plenty of mistakes. I don't have any regrets, but I have a couple mistakes. So I would think a couple of mistakes that we made. The last practice we bought, I think we made some mistakes in terms of evaluating things.
Okay.
I think there were some really hidden costs, red herrings, stuff that we didn't do our due diligence like we should have.
Okay. Understood.
That was something that was probably we could have handled that better for everybody involved. Other mistake, I think was probably one of the mistakes was not getting some help in certain areas soon enough.
Okay. Gotcha.
So like in terms of our accountant was great, and he kind of went into financial, and it became a financial planner. So our accounting situation was a little bit in flux, and so there were a couple things there that could have been smoother.
Understood.
For all people involved. Like my CFO, he probably would have been a lot happier if we were a little bit more solid during that transition. So
Understood. So now I used to still watch a lot of TV, all these doctor shows, ER, Chicago Hope, and I forgot which show it was, but they always have these things where the doctors would do, and tell me, I think I'm saying it wrong. They would do a post-mortem. Is that right?
Post-mortem is usually after death.
Right. So that's what I thought. I know that too, but they would all go in a room and they would discuss the surgery that went wrong, and then they would blame the doctor for whatever.
Yeah.
All the doctors.
Well, you know what they do? You know what they do in New York State? It's a law. They actually have a timeout. So when you're going into surgery, right? So let's say you're going in, you're having your left knee done.
Right.
Okay. So right before everything, there's a timeout. So you have the anesthesiologist, you have the nurse anesthetist, you have the assistant, you have the surgeon, everybody involved with the procedure. What's the name of the patient? What's the procedure? Are the x-rays up? What knee is it? Let's take a look. Is it marked clearly defined which leg it is? And they're trying to eliminate what they call wrong side surgery.
Okay.
So for your left leg and they work on your right leg.
Yes.
So those kind of things. So I think it's a state law that they did that. And it's funny because we sort of did that routinely with everything. Like we had a paper chart. We have everything digital, so everything's in the computer.
Okay.
But then we have a paper sheet that says, okay, this is our day sheet, right? So our routing slip, and on the route slip has patient name. So okay, your name, this. Okay, this is what we're going to do today. You take a look at it. I take a look at the X-rays. I kind of have done it in my head. Okay, so we kind of have our own little thing like that, but they do something like that to try to avoid some of those mistakes.
Okay.
So like for example, if you're someone's a diabetic, they might be handled completely differently, or if someone's asthmatic, they might be more of a challenge for anesthetic. So they want to kind of preventive it, proactive, I guess is the right word. Be proactive, not have to be reactive. Not doing an emergency trach because you can't breathe, something like that.
Gotcha. So that's what I was kind of leaning toward. So you actually, doctors, I guess they change it from the television show. They try to be smart and figure it out before things go awry. Do you do that with your own business?
Yeah, we do. That's a really good analogy. Like we look at things and we're always kind of saying, okay, how can we modify this? How can we change this? And then with the whole COVID situation, that, we definitely have pivoted and changed a bunch of things. But a lot of it is right along the lines of what we were doing. So it was kind of
nice.
Easier transition, right? So that was helpful, but it did reinforce, well, this is why we did this before. Now you get it. Oh, I get it now. Why were we rinsing them? Why was everybody rinsing before they were having something done? Well, it reduced the amount of bacteria in their mouth. Well, okay. Well, why is that important? Well, it reduces the spread of bacteria. Well, now it's a virus, but it's the same concept, So we had some of these things in place. So when we started doing them, my team was like, oh yeah, we've done this for years. Like,
right.
Yep, we have. So it was a nice pivot, but really it was more of a reinforcement, of what we did.
Nice.
So that's helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's important, like to highlight, a lot of business owners, we jump in the water, we start swimming, and we're in the middle of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
and we realize that we're drowning, and we if we had just taken a moment and planned out the course, we could have gotten to our destination a lot straighter. And
Mhm.
so, planning is so important. You try to plan in advance, you try to see in advance, and that's what
Yeah.
helps you become successful. So I like that analogy of, the doing it before as opposed to after. I do remember that television show. I'm going to have to look it up again and get the term that they would call it, but they were always blaming each other after the person died. It was kind of like the
Mhm.
dramatic part of the show. But what it really highlighted was you didn't probably plan as well as you could have. Now, obviously things happen, but they weren't planning as well as they could have. And so afterwards, they would try to clean up the mess. But if you're going to be successful in business, my opinion, you want to have as much foresight as possible, right? You want to think about all those things. And then as you're going through it, like you mentioned, it sounds like you and your team do, is you kind of review your procedures, you know, good or bad. Hey, well, why do we do this? You actually have the entire understanding as to why we rinse. We don't just rinse, there's a reason. And so
Mhm.
that to me is valuable in any profession, the planning part of it. Would you agree?
100%. The only thing I would add
Hmm.
is, and I think you're hitting on it a little bit, is you need to also be able to readjust your rudder.
Okay.
So if you're on track to go here and all of a sudden you get hit here, you're going to have to reset your course.
Right.
So you have to be able, and I think that's where you get into some unwanted outcomes, is something came up you weren't planning on. Well, you can't think of all scenarios, but you can start to think of some. What are the most common challenges you're going to see along the way? Like for us, if we're working on a tooth and the tooth breaks and we didn't expect it to break. Okay, now how can we readjust, reset our procedure, rediscuss the treatment now with the patient, make sure they understand risks and wanted outcomes and all that stuff, and then be able to deliver it and not say, oh boy, we're in trouble. And you may have a couple of patients that you plan on seeing, and now this 20-minute procedure is now an hour and a half.
Aha.
How do you handle that with minimum impact? And that takes a really great team to get on the same page,
Yes.
and I think some leadership too, like, okay, we got this, let's do this, because you're going to have people like at this. And then also, how do you deal with change? Some people, change is like a 4-letter word, and for us, again, it's another one of our core values is, we have to be adaptable to change. It's
Nice.
inevitable. It's to have change or die. So we're not going to change for change's sake, right? But
Correct.
we're going to
Correct.
recognize those areas where, hey, we gotta readjust the
Yeah.
rudders.
A thoughtful change, right? Thoughtful
Yeah,
change. Makes a
yeah.
lot
It
of
has,
sense.
it has to be some. Yeah, it has to be some meat to it. You can't just say,
Right.
well, you know what, we're going to start using red lettering, or we're going to use a red pen. Or
Yeah.
we'll use the blue pen. No, blue pen's fine. You don't need to
Yeah.
use red pen.
Yeah. Don't
But all of a sudden, I just want to change.
yeah, don't go trashing the blue pens just to get the red pen. Stop it. Think about what you're doing. I have
You know what I
50
mean?
pens. I know.
Yeah, like you don't change just to change, but if red pens are more recognizable or easier to write with, or they
Yes.
provide a more legible copy for the patient, okay, well then press
Now
that.
we'll consider that's it. That's it. Adaptability is really important, I think, too. You're right. Actually, this leads to the next question, and maybe you'll give me this answer. Maybe you'll give me something different. What do you think is the single most important quality needed to be a successful owner?
Ooh, successful owner. I think a successful owner for a business really has to understand their people, their process, and their product, right? Marcus Lemonis, right? You have to understand.
That's my show. It used to
I
be. He's
love that.
getting a little. He's getting a little bit. To trying to delve into people's psychology. But when he started out, boy, I was on that
Yeah.
show. People, process, product.
Right. Yeah. But I think you have to also understand. You got to understand your product, and you got to understand your market, right? And I think that's key. And your question was again, what was it again?
Oh, what's the single most important quality you need to be successful in business
I think
as an owner?
you have to be no number single most. You have to be passionate about what you do. Passionate. You have to be passionate. It has to come out of your pores. Like when somebody pins you up against a wall and they're like, what do you do? And you got to come back with, yeah, we do it for this reason. And
Okay.
all they're reading is your body language, your verbal tone, and all the all the nonverbal signals in addition to what you say, right?
Nice.
And if you don't like it, like what you're doing, I don't know, oh boy, you know, like, who stands behind their product, right? Like, I mean, I told you the water mains broke out here, right? And they're fixing it. Well, I put in a brand new water filtration system. Well, this people are phenomenal. So I called him. I said, this is going on. I talked to the owner, and his son came out, and he was like, listen, when it gets done, you're going to need to flush your lines. Call us. One of us will be there when they're done. That's all he said. One of us will be there when they're done. He didn't say 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So I fully expect when I get the notion that this is done, I can give him a call, and he'll be here half hour, 45 minutes, and he'll help me flush it and do everything we got to do, because it's in his DNA to be the best water treatment system deliverer on the whole East Coast. And that's passionate, and I found him. I had a big tank in the basement, and I was driving around, and I went and I said, okay, there's this place, and they were saying, why don't you find this water system place? And I pull in the parking lot, and it's closed, but there's a guy there, and he's like, hey, how can I help you? I'm like, this. And he's like, okay. He brings it over. He starts fiddling with it. Next, he's taking it apart. He's like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. You can bring this back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to hire this guy. I couldn't wait to hire the guy. And then he said, my son runs the business. I've been doing it for 50 years. He could probably, tell a broken thing from 300 yards away just because how long he's done it. But he still loves what he does. I mean, it's obvious that he has the passion. I mean, you can't go wrong if you're passionate about it.
That's so true. I like that one. Passion. And you know what? If you're passionate, then you are going to more than likely have a good reputation, because you're giving your all to what you do. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
And then you're going to make sure you have good people, and you're going to have good processes, and you're going to make sure you have a good product.
Right.
Because you're passionate about it.
That's exactly true. I like that one. So I got one more question for you. All right.
Okay.
So now, if you could go back right before you started your business, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, what advice would I give that young dumbass that was going into business?
With the jump shot.
Right. I would have been like, listen, you got to work on your left. Make sure you can hit threes. Make sure you can shoot threes. No, I probably would have, my advice would have been, you're going to have to learn the business. Okay. So maybe learn more of the business at the business you're at. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I was working for the two docs, I mean, I learned the dental part of it and the dental product delivery. I learned that patient rapport, that they helped me tremendously, because when you graduate, you think you know it. You don't. And then after the first year, you're like, wow, I knew nothing. And your second, you're like, I knew nothing a year ago. And your learning curve is steep,
mm-hmm.
But you're learning so much of the skills, and what you're passionate about is the dentistry part. But if you're going to go in and you're going to go on your own, I think you've got to learn those other things, and that probably would have been a tremendous help if I would have taken on or learned more of those things, like been a fly on the wall. Hey, can I sit down and have your meeting with your accountant? Can I just see what this is like, or can you have a meeting with the lawyer? Can I just have an interaction,
Right.
You have to learn it somehow. And I mean, it's not practical to go back to business school when you're working like that. But,
right.
And it's really not 100% relevant to what you're doing,
I like it. That's interesting, because we talk about the book, The E-Myth, and they use that term entrepreneurial seizure, right?
Yeah.
I can just do it, but you have no idea about what it really takes to run a business. And you're so right. If you know that beforehand, I mean, you'll probably get where you want to go. If you're passionate, you'll get there, but you can get there a whole lot sooner and easier if you learn a little bit about the business first. I learned that myself. For years, I was, in business, just crying like a baby, like you said, money coming in the left pocket, going out the right. And you're trying to just catch a little bit so you can get some dinner that night, And then you learn.
That's my way for an allowance.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, please. Can I just have a little bit? I'm just so hungry. But you learn the business as we go. But it's so important, especially for new business owners. You're just starting out. Take some time to learn a little bit about business.
Yeah.
We always have to improve our skills in what we do. But if you can't run a business, you're going to struggle. And there's no fun in struggling. This is all about business stories of success. Yeah. So we want people to make smart decisions to be successful. So Awesome. Awesome.
The other thing that hits me hard in that book, and I say it almost every day, is sometimes you got to stop working in your business and start working on your business.
Absolutely.
And you get caught up like your business and we're in our business, and we're also the motor that drives the ship, as well as the person that steers the ship.
That's right.
So sometimes you're so busy being the motor that you've forgotten to take a step back and look at this. And I also think you have to recharge your batteries. You got to take time away. Make sure you take some time away, and then you've got to replenish. So you've got to get some education. You've got to continue to learn. To me, dentistry, you have a license to learn. There's so many things that are changing, evolving, and you got to find out, again, if you're passionate about this, learn about it, do great. And then find a good mentor, find someone who's done it, and then learn from them so you don't make all your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
But maybe it's not for you. And I think the one thing is social media can really drive a person in the wrong direction.
Oh, my goodness. Won't they?
Right? Because, if I wrote down, listen, we're doing blah, 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 and that, and someone else is like, well, we don't do blah, blah, blah. We do we don't do blah, blah, blah. Oh, I better start doing blah, blah, blah. Well, what if you don't want to do blah, blah, blah? What if your patients don't need blah, blah, blah?
That doesn't work for you, right?
Right, but I saw this guy, and he had said he did this, and he's, everything's fantasy land. I mean, that's not reality, Yeah. Reality is XYZ pays the bills, and maybe A and B you can do, and you see it occasionally, right? But if you're going to put all your efforts into A and B, and you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're not going to be successful,
It's true.
And you might make some great posts and some beautiful Instagram pictures and some wonderful Facebook posts, and you can quote everybody you want. You can quote Bill Belichick, and you can quote anything, but is it really fulfilling for you? But
right.
You can't spend your life comparing yourself to Tom, Dick.
It'll be a nightmare. And you know what? That is not success.
No.
Success is intrinsic. It's who we are. It's what works for me. And so what works for that owner is not going to work for me. So I don't want to look at his Facebook post and say, my goodness, he's got 500 clients and I only have 20. Well, that poor guy is struggling to keep his head above water because he's got all this overhead. Who knows? Right. So success is definitely something intrinsic.
Right. We have 5 offices. So people, you have 5 offices. You first of all, you need your head examined to have 5 offices. Okay. It's cuckoo, But I mean, we manage it because we just have phenomenal people. Period. We would never be able to do this if we didn't.
Right.
And it's not for everybody. And it doesn't mean that we're more successful or we've done this. We never sought out to do this. That was never the plan.
Right.
It evolved that way, and it was really because of relationships that we have with those dentists. We're not actively out saying, "Oh, we're looking to buy practice. We're looking to do this."
Right.
No, we're not. We're looking to take care of our patients, obviously grow a little bit, but not that. And if it presents itself again, well, we'll never say no and don't look at it.
Right.
But we're not actively pursuing that, and
it has to be the right fit for you.
Yeah, and it doesn't make us or what we're doing any better than that guy with 2 staff members in a little tiny 800 square foot office who loves what he does. His patients love him. They appreciate him. He provides great service. He makes enough that he's happy or comfortable. His team loves him. We're saying, there's no difference. Right. I mean, I may have more complications in my life than you do, but so be it.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, more people, more problems. But it's problems. It's intrinsic. I'm going to use exactly what you said. Your success is intrinsic to you, and is nobody else. Nobody else should define what success is for you.
I love it. I think that's the perfect way to end our discussion. Doc, I want to thank you so much for giving us some time and letting us get a peek into your life and the 5 practices you have. That's pretty fantastic. So we look forward to checking back in with you another time and seeing how things are going.
Anytime. Welcome to my madness, man. Hopefully the water main will be fixed by now.
Oh, that'd be awesome. All right.